and you're watching Sean the Saiyan.
What is going on, everybody? It is Sean, your friendly neighborhood Saiyan. And real quick before I get into this video, if you guys are not aware, speaking of One Piece, I have another channel called Samurai Chao where I specifically talk about the One Piece TCG. I will have a link to the channel in the description of this video. So if you guys are into that game, definitely go check it out. If you're interested, definitely go check it out. But we'll go ahead and get into the video. So if it isn't already obvious, I'm kind of a huge anime fan. I mean, by my name, Sean the Saiyan, it's pretty obvious. It started for me at a young age when I was exposed to Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, all those shows. And just something about those shows really stuck with me. The way the stories were told, the quirkiness of the characters, it just all stuck with me really well. It started out as a young age, but as I got to a teenager, I got introduced to Dragon Ball Z, and that's kind of where my love for anime started. Once I finished Dragon Ball Z at like 15 or 16 years old, that's kind of when my obsession became. And it's just grown and grown every single day. I have a YouTube channel just to talk about it. But we're talking about One Piece. One Piece is something that I didn't get into right away, actually. I started watching it around when COVID hit back in 2020. I wasn't in school at the time. It's something that's interested me for a long time. But it was so intimidating, like a lot of other people, because there's just so much to it. I had friends who had recommended it to me, and just, out of curiosity, it looked like something that I would enjoy. I finally started, and, it was something that honestly I kind of went back and forth with. I think back when I first started watching it, I got to the Arlong Park, and I really enjoyed that, and then I just kind of stopped for a while. Then maybe like a year later, I started watching it again because of friends, picked it back up, and then I took like a couple of months off, and then I had another friend who was trying to get me into it, and he pulled me into it. And this was around, I think, the Skypiea arc. And then once I passed that, it was pretty much just straight on, like there was no stopping. And to be honest with you guys, I'm not even like fully caught up all the way. One Piece is something that has become a big part of my life. I've developed a love for the characters. I've developed a love for the series, and that's why I'm talking about it today. And I mean, I'm wearing a One Piece shirt and I have a tattoo on my arm. So I've developed a fondness and love for the series. And I mean, obviously there's a card game, like I was mentioning earlier, that I am obsessed with. I love the card game, but One Piece has really skyrocketed for me in terms of like some of my favorite series ever. And that's why we're talking about the live action One Piece today. So the live action One Piece is a Netflix series. It is 8 episodes. It covers some of the early arcs of One Piece. It came out August 31st. Something cool about this series is that Oda has been very involved in the series. He's handpicked a lot of the cast, kid who's playing Monkey D. Luffy, and I mean, I think a lot of people have said this, there's just really nobody else who could capture that character as well as he did. He did such a great job. But to be honest with you guys, leading up to the live action coming out, my overall opinion was just, I just had that typical, like, it's just another live action anime. Probably not going to be worth it. Probably not going to be worth my time. I wouldn't say I was negative about it, but I was probably a little closed-minded about it. More trailers came out, more came out about the series. It didn't even look bad to me, but it's probably just not for me. Part of the reason why I love anime so much is I love the art style. I love like how the characters look, how the quirkiness, stuff that you can't really capture in real life. It was kind of just like one of those things where it's like, I'm probably just going to ignore it. And I did have people message me. A couple of my friends were like, what do you think about it? And I was just like, it doesn't look bad, but it's probably just not for me. That was pretty much my attitude. I wasn't negative about it. I wasn't like, oh, it looks awful. It just wasn't for me. And then something else happened that was interesting. I have a buddy who is not really into anime. He hasn't seen a lot of anime. It's just not really his thing. But he knows that I love anime and that I love One Piece. And one day we were texting and he brought up the live action One Piece to me. And he was like, have you heard about this? And I was like, yeah, I've actually heard really good things about it. He himself was like, yeah, I might watch it. And that was really exciting for me because I love seeing people who, aren't really that familiar with anime and they see this live action and how well it's doing and how well it's been received by audiences. It generates curiosity, and then they start watching it and they end up liking it, and then they start kind of transitioning into trying the anime or trying the manga. So a week passed and we were texting. I had watched it all the way through. I basically watched the live action in one weekend, and I texted him and I was like, hey man, I watched it. I really enjoyed it. I highly recommend it. And he responded with, oh, I already started it. And that just was awesome. I was just like, yes. Seeing new people get introduced to this series, to these characters, it's great. It's a great feeling. So that's like one of my favorite things about the series, is that it's getting all of these new people to consider watching the anime or just trying out anime. And that's awesome. To be honest, in this video, I'm not really gonna compare it to the anime all that much, because it's a really cheap thing to do, in my opinion, to just nitpick it and say, well,
this scene looked better in the anime and this looked better in the manga.
I'm not gonna do that. I'm just going to talk about the live action as a whole. So the live action covers the early arcs. It goes up to, again, the Arlong Park. Basically the introductions to Luffy, Zoro, Sanji, Nami, and Usopp. And I'm going to say this right now, like, the cast really sells it. They did a really good job in this. They are those characters. They're confident in the roles. They obviously have passion for this project. They know their source material, because I know that Emily Rudd and the actor for Zoro, they're pretty big weebs and they love One Piece. And then I guess a couple of the other actors, once they started this project, they started to get in and watch or read One Piece. So they obviously started to develop a passion for it. I think the two standout roles for me personally is Zoro and Buggy. I think the two actors they chose for them were just perfect. Not that everybody else wasn't, but again, this is just my personal opinion. I think those two, like, whenever they were on screen, I was just like, wow, they fucking killed it. And to be honest, Buggy's never really been like one of my favorite characters. I enjoy him in the anime. I think he's a fun character. But if you asked me, like, in my top 10, he wouldn't show up there. But if you were asking, like, live action, like, top 5 characters, he would easily be in the top 5. Zoro is, like, how you would picture a three swordsman who's very stoic and doesn't really say a lot, kind of just goes around looking for a drink. And again, he's not copying, these actors aren't copying the characters from the anime. They're taking these characters and making their own. Yeah, Zoro's great in this. And as far as the other actors, like their arcs and all that, I think that they did a really good job of developing a lot of like the sadder and more emotional moments. Like one of my favorite moments from the live action was where Nami is like kind of stabbing, that iconic scene where she's stabbing her tattoo on her shoulder, and she's just crying and just down and just hating life. And then Luffy shows up and she just looks up and it's just like, help me. And then he just does it. Like, that scene is like, that's a very powerful and emotional scene in the anime. And they did a really good job transitioning that into the live action. And let's talk about Usopp, because when you look at him, he doesn't have the iconic nose from the anime. And I think that was a smart choice. I think that there's a lot of things in the live action that they chose not to like emphasize on that they do in the anime to kind of make it not look as cheesy or corny, because I feel like that's one of the biggest problems and one of the biggest hurdles when trying to adapt anime into live action is, how do we do this without making it cheesy or making it to where audiences aren't going to take it seriously? And I think that was a really good call. But besides that, he's Usopp. He is the character. He's fun, he's silly, he's a scaredy cat. And I mean, he has his iconic slingshot and yelling out his attacks. And then let's talk about Monkey D. Luffy, who again, Oda picked, and he said this in interviews that he couldn't picture anybody else playing that character. And he nails it. That he is Luffy. He captures that embodiment of courage and selflessness. Kind of dumb. I mean, Luffy is not the brightest character, always eating, but he just nails that. And you really see him kind of like capture and bring all of these crewmates together. It's just crazy to think that we have an anime adaptation that isn't terrible. It's really mind-blowing, to be honest. And as far as like the world, I think for like normal audiences, they're gonna be like, what? They're kind of like, they'll kind of be taken back for it, but at the same time, it doesn't detract it. Because, you know, people who've seen the anime and are used to that kind of stuff, they're going to look at it and be like, oh, okay, I remember that. But normal audiences, they might kind of look at that and take a step back. But at the same time, it doesn't detract it from the story. Like, it's, you kind of just adjust to the world. Like, you know, when you're introduced to this world where there's a kid who is made of rubber and yells out attacks, things just kind of start to blend into the world. So stuff like that doesn't really detract it. And I mean, for people who watch the anime or are skeptical, I'd say just go into it with an open mind. But I highly recommend it for people who don't know anything about One Piece or have thought about getting into the series or are just too intimidated. I would say watch the live action. And if you enjoy the live action, then maybe you'll like the anime or the manga and you can give that a shot. And thank you guys for watching. I know it's been a minute since I've uploaded anything. I've just been busy with life, and I'm sorry if I sound a little off. My allergies have been killing me lately. Please like and subscribe, it helps. I will have more content coming. And again, if you are into the One Piece TCG, go check out Samurai Chao. Thank you guys for watching. Love y'all.